Question number 5, Denis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This question is for the Minister for the Environment. Does he agree with the Northland Regional Council's 2012 State of the Environment report that, quote, large areas of land with prime soils suited for agricultural and horticultural production continue to be subdivided for lifestyle blocks and urban development, unquote, and if not, why not?
Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Yes, but the report also said that it was not a regionally significant issue and they decided to not include specific provisions for protecting such soils in their proposed regional policy statement. This government supports the growth of Northland's agricultural and horticultural industries with initiatives like opening up trade and providing funding to support Northland irrigation initiatives. Our plans for Northland horticulture do not include the option of legalising marijuana as proposed yesterday by Winston Peters.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Denis O'Rourke.
Can the Minister give an assurance that the proposed reforms announced in his speech of 21 January 2015, overhauling the Resource Management Act, will not exacerbate housing development on prime agricultural land in Northland?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, I welcome the fact that building consent numbers in Northland have grown over the last 3 years, showing an increased level of confidence. I also welcome the fact that many landowners in Northland are converting over to products like avocados, with the good work of the Korean Free Trade Agreement is going to enable greater wealth. We're a party who believe that the best choice made about land use is actually by the landowner themselves. And our RMA reforms will be good for Northland by giving those landowners the freedom to be able to use their land profitably.
Supplementary order. Supplementary question, Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question to the Minister asks, what specific initiatives has the government taken that would support the growth of Northland's agricultural and horticultural industries?
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, the Northland Regional Council has indicated 2 particular areas in which they are working with the government to advance the Northland economy. The first of those is a real concern that too much of the prime land in Northland is tied up in the complexities of the Tūtara Whenua Māori Act. And they are very keen to work with the Minister of Māori Development and the government to reform that act, and my colleague Chris Finlinson, to ensure that more of that productive land can produce more exports and wealth for Northland. The Northland Regional Council indicated their second priority was in respect of water. And quite recently, the Minister of Primary Industries has provided funding for the Northland region to be able to expand irrigation and expand the exports from that region, although I accept we do not share New Zealand's first enthusiasm for growing marijuana.
Order. Supplementary question, Denis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, are the proposed RMA reforms, which are aimed at freeing up more land for housing at the expense of agricultural land, consistent with the government's aim of doubling agricultural production by 2025, and if so, how?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, members on this side of the House want a Resource Management Act that's going to protect the environment but also ensure that economies like Northland are able to grow. And the consistent message I've had from organisations like Federated Farmers in Northland, the business associations in Northland, is that RMA reform is pivotal to unlocking the economic opportunities in Northland, and that's why members on this side of the House are committed to that reform.
Order. Supplementary question, David Seymour.
Is the Minister aware of historic reports of subdivision of productive lands, including as long as 70 years ago in St Mary's Bay?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, I do understand that one of the candidates in Northland has a very intense interest in St Mary's Bay and what might occur there. Our candidate in Northland is far more interested in the practical job opportunities for the people of Northland.
Supplementary question.
No, point of order.
Point of order, Tracy Martin. Order. Order. It is a point of order. It will be heard in silence.
Mr. Speaker, could you please clarify how the answer had anything to do with the question?
Order. I'm not... I'll hear from the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Well, the question related directly to St Mary's Bay and answered directly about St Mary's Bay.
Order. I think I can... Order. The member will resume her seat. The question asked for any historic reports on the subdivision of land around St Mary's Bay. Now, that is a question that is quite legitimate. I could tell where it was going, but it was a legitimate question to be asked in this House, and that's why the member then addressed it. Question number 6. Order. Question number 6. Grant Robertson.
Thank you.